Management begins with note-taking, literally with pen and paper. If you can master the art of controlling pen on paper to take crucial notes, then you can successfully control yourself, manage people, and wealth. Welcome to our discourse on pastoring again. Today, our topic of discourse is the pastor, a record keeper. The pastor, a record keeper. Learn to pay attention to the details that makes for quality and adequate pastoral care. Back to where we started from, management begins with note-taking, literally with pen and papers. If you can master the art of controlling pen on paper to take crucial notes, then you can successfully control yourself, manage people, and wealth. Where is that coming from? Proverbs 27 verse 23 says, be diligent to know the state of your flock as a pastor. Be diligent to know the state of your flock. Do the due diligence to know the condition, the situation of your people, and attend to your heads. The New Living Translation put that like this. It said, know your sheep by name. Okay, this is the Message Bible. Know your sheep by name. Carefully attend to your flock. Don't take them for granted. Possessions don't last forever, you know. Now, what is this all about? As a pastor, one of those things you do is to manage people and you manage resources. And in management, one of the crucial principles is note-taking, record-keeping. And the Bible has emphasized here, saying to be diligent to know the state of your flock. And the only way you can know the state of your flock is when you are keeping record accurately. Now let's see some reference that amplify this. For instance, just talk about a shepherd who has 100 sheep and one strayed away. The question to ask is, how did that shepherd know? And the only way a shepherd of 100 will know that one is astray is by diligent record. You cannot tell the difference between 100 or 99 sheep. You cannot tell the difference between 100 and 99 sheep by quick glance or guesswork. So in other words, the shepherd had a record, and by record he knew that one of them is not in the fold. If that shepherd has not been diligent with record keeping, I'm sure he will not be aware that one of them is astray. So that's amplified this concept of record keeping. So we don't know if one sheep is astray if you are not keeping record. Now God judge your qualification and readiness for more by your attitude towards little. As a pastor, you desire growth, you desire more growth in membership. But the only way God judge that you are qualified to grow or for growth in your membership is how you are handling the number you already have. So God judge how qualified you are, how ready you are by your attitude to the number you have. Whether or not you care for one strange sheep reveals how you will handle 100 sheep in the same shoe. Now, if you are not diligent enough to keep record to know that one sheep is missing, then God can judge that if 100 sheep go missing, you won't budge, you won't care. If you cannot care for one. And that's what the Lord Jesus said. about in the parable of the talents, Matthew 25, 28 to 29 said, then the other, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given to them, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now, those who are diligent to keep necessary record, to know the state of their flock, you see them growing because God is adding to them. They have proven themselves faithful and qualified and ready for more. And God keep adding to them. Whereas those who don't even have much are even losing membership of the little number they have. Why? Because those who do well with what they have get more. Those who do the diligence needed to know the state of their flock, they get more people. While those who are careless lose even those that they have. Now, if God, the omniscience that knows all things, will keep records, who are you to do less? Look at Exodus 32:32. But now, if you will only forgive their sins, if not, erase my name from the record you have written. Now, Moses acknowledged that God has a record. Psalm 56 verse 8, you keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bosom. You have recorded each in your book. Look at that analogy. You have collected all my tears in your bosom. So the psalmist here is comparing the seriousness God put into record keeping to collection of tears in bosom. God went that far, or God will go that far with records. If God does that, who are you to do less? Psalm 139 verse 16 says, you know me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. Look at that. So God is a record keeper. We cannot afford to do less. So now let's see some examples of some records from the Bible that are crucial and need to be taken by a pastor or pastorates or in a local assembly. The first one is financial record, talking about income, expenditure, balances, savings, inventory, and so on and so forth. Look at what happened when Jesus fed over 5,000 people with 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. Yes, record keeping helps us to know what was used to feed them. Matthew 14:17, and they said to him, we have only 5 loaves and 2 fish. It's because there is a record. If not, we won't have that. Now we also have in the next verse, in verse 20 now. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of fragments that remained. Now, the remainder after the miracle was also recorded. So that's where people appreciate how important record keeping is. If not for record keeping, who will care about how many baskets are left? Now, Exodus 38 verse 21 is an inventory of the material used in building the tabernacle of covenant. The Levite compiled the figures as Moses directed. Now, Moses, the pastor, directed that the figures be compiled. And Itamar, son of Aaron, the priest, served as recorder. The person that kept the record, that wrote all those down, was Itamar. So when you are considering member of staff in the local assembly, so you should look out for somebody to keep records, just like we see here. So this is one example of records that need to be kept. What about attendance and membership? Now at that same miracle of feeding over 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, the attendance was recorded. Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. There is diligence to know the states of the flock. So what about the biodata of your people? Their sex, their age, their address, state of origin, useful information about them. Numbers 1:2. From the whole community of Israel, record the names of all the warriors by their clans and family. List all the men. Numbers 1:19 says, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, so Moses recorded their names in the wilderness of Sinai. Now, in the book of Numbers, a lot of people usually avoid. Why? Because it has a lot of records. So that just having the book of Numbers in the Bible just reveals or amplifies the importance of record keeping. So you need the biodata of your people. What about your progress and achievements as you journey in ministry? Moses, a pastor, did that. In his journey with the children of Israel to the promised land, the Bible says from Numbers 32, it said, this is the route the Israelites followed as they marched out of Egypt under the leadership of Moses and Aaron. At the Lord's direction, and the Lord directed Moses to do this, Moses kept a written record of their progress. These are the state of their march, identified by different places where they stopped along the way. Moses kept record of their progress, where they stopped, how long they stayed there, the next stop, how long they stayed there, the next stop, how long they stayed there. And those records are useful for us. What about testimonies? Testimonies are crucial, and keeping records of what the deeds of God in the assembly are very useful. Now, Psalm 102 verse 18 says, let this be recorded for future generations, so that a people not yet born will praise the Lord. That is testimonies. Esther 9:20, Mordecai recorded these events. What events? Talking about the intervention of God to rescue the Jews when Naaman plots to kill them. Mordecai recorded the events and sent letters to the Jews near and far throughout the province of King Xerxes. Recorded testimonies that people yet unborn will hear, will read, and praise God. What about divine instruction and encounters? Jeremiah 32, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says, write down for the record everything I have said to you. Jeremiah, God told Jeremiah to record all, write for record purpose. Exodus 24:4, and Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and he rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes. Now that is another record of encounter, because those will be useful for you. Now what about territorial maps and population data? On requiring in his book Purpose Driven Church, talked about how when God sent him to a particular place in the United States of America, where he was to pastor, he did a mapping of the place. Population, got the population data, demographic data of the people, so that it can be abreast of all the information he needs to do a good job, effective pastoring. Now, we also see that in the Bible, Moses sent spies to the promised land. Joshua did the same. And then when they were going to share the land, Joshua 18 from verse 4, select 3 men from each tribe, and I will send them out to explore the land and map it out. They will then return to me with a written report of their proposed division of their new homeland. let them divide the land into 7 sections, excluding Judah territory, and so on and so forth. Now, the land was to be shared, and some people were sent to map it out. Now, where God has sent you to, those that God has sent you to, you need to do a mapping, you need to do a record. Keep the record of the people, map out the area, get the demographic data, population data. Those will be useful for you to succeed in the task. Now, what are the importance of keeping all these records? For one, that is provide easy and accessible reminders. Let's start 2:23. When an investigation was made and Mordecai's story was found to be true. Now, Mordecai detected a plot to kill the king, King Xerxes, and then he went to reveal it to he told Esther to tell the king, and then it was investigated and found to be true. But one thing very crucial there is that this was all recorded in the book of the history of the King Xerxes' reign. That king kept record. And that record was useful. Esther chapter 6 verse 2. In those records, he discovered an account of how Mordecai had exposed a plot of those who wanted to kill the king. Now, that was recorded, and another king. Okay, it's the same king. The same king forgot what has happened, but someday he could not sleep. And then he picked the book of record and realized that there's something that has been done that is yet to be rewarded. And then he went out to do the rewarding. So record help him to remember, provide easy and accessible reminder for him. Exodus 17:14. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Now, this was recorded, accounted in the hearing of Joshua. So it was not Joshua that eventually executes this judgment. It was Saul that eventually did. But the record make it possible. The record provides a reminder to have it done. Now, planning and decision making. Record helps you to make good decisions. They help in planning for growth, for progress. Just as we saw in the case of Joshua, when they were going to allot the promised land to the tribes of Israel, there was a mapping, and the record helped them to be able to do planning and decision making in terms of allotting various land to tribes. Now, the next thing is transgenerational reference. It's going to be a reference for generation years of unborn. This record will be useful. We have people who, when they are gone, when they are long dead and gone, the records they have kept were put together into books. Some of them, those records were useful in writing their biography. So those records will be useful because they are going to become reference for generations yet unborn. Now Psalm 102 verse 18 says, let this be recorded for future generations, so that people yet unborn will praise the Lord. That is what we have for you today. This is coming to you from House of Wisdom Pastoral Resource Center. Our contacts are displayed there. You can always reach out to us. We'll be glad to be of help in any way. Now, until we come your way again next week, remain in God's presence. Stay blessed. And have a pleasant week. Thank you for your time. God bless you.